Welcome to Spectrum News at 10. I am Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at today's headlines. Federal government begins implementation of key welfare provisions of renegotiated agreement with ASU. Senate to reconvene today as Electoral Act triggers uproar. Plus, Trump threatens to block opening of U.S.-Canada bridge. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. Our first report this morning is that the federal government has begun implementing key welfare provisions of its renegotiated agreements with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, including salary-related allowances. This was contained in a statement issued by Director of Press and Public Relations at the Federal Ministry of Education, Boworio Folashade. According to the statement, the implementation reflects President Bola Tinubu's commitment to agreements reached with stakeholders in the education sector and sustaining industrial harmony in public universities. The statement noted that the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced that the government had commenced the 40% increase in the consolidated academic allowance for ASU members effective from January 1, 2026. The ministry confirmed that some federal universities have already begun reflecting the approved increase in salary payment. Alausa also directed vice chancellors to ensure strict compliance with the framework for implementing the Consolidated Academic Tools Allowance. In the directive, he stressed the importance of prudent financial management, urging them to make judicious use of available resources to ensure the successful rollout of the allowance. From the Red Chambers, the Senate will today hold an emergency plenary session amid rising national outrage over its handling of amendment to the Electoral Act, particularly the controversial decision to drop the clause mandating real-time electronic transmission of election results. The sitting convened less than a week after the passage of the Electoral Act Amendments Bill 2026 comes as pressure mounts from civil society organizations, opposition figures, labor unions, professional bodies, regional leaders, and youth movement, who have taken their dissatisfaction to the gate of the National Assembly. The President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is expected to preside over the plenary, which will be attended by the remaining 105 senators. The emergency session was announced in a statement signed by the Clerk of the Senate, Emmanuel Odo. The plenary is scheduled to commence at 12 noon. In the meantime, the Senate has assured President Bola Tinubu of its readiness to work closely with the executive arm to ensure the timely passage and effective implementation of the 2026 Appropriation Bill. The assurance was given by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during the public hearing and interactive session on the 2026 Appropriation Bill, organized by the Senate Committee on Appropriations at the National Assembly, Abuja. Akpabio, who was represented by the Deputy President of the Senate, Baru Jibrin, said the legislature remained committed to its constitutional responsibilities of oversight, accountability, and legislative support aimed at stabilizing the economy and improving the welfare of Nigerians. He noted that Nigeria was at a critical juncture, grappling with inflationary pressures, infrastructure deficit, unemployment, and lingering security challenges, which he said directly affected the daily lives of citizens. Meanwhile, the Senate has said that any agency benefiting from service-wide vote without proper accountability will no longer be tolerated. This is according to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Preparations, Senator Adiola Olamilekong, who warned that the 2026 budget would mark a decisive break from past spending practices. Speaking at a one-day public hearing on the 2026 appropriation bill, Senator Olamilekong stated that every expenditure item would be subjected to strict scrutiny to determine how public funds are utilized. He called on ministries, departments, and agencies to cooperate fully with oversight institutions to promote transparency, efficiency, and fiscal discipline across government. The lawmaker also declared that the National Assembly will no longer extend the implementation of federal budget beyond December 31, insisting that delays undermine fiscal planning and accountability. To the judiciary, where the Abuja Division of the Court of Appeal has affirmed the decision of Senate to suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti, holding that the Red Chamber acted within its powers. In a unanimous judgment delivered by a three-member panel in Natasha's appeal against the Clerk of the National Assembly and three others, the appellant court ruled that the suspension did not breach Akpoti Uduaghan's parliamentary privileges or constitutional right. However, the court set aside the contempt proceedings and a 5 million naira fine imposed on a lawmaker over a satirical apology she directed at the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Abba Mohammed held that the Senate President acted within the rules by denying Akpoti Uduaghan the opportunity to speak during plenary on February 20, 2025, as she was not seated in an officially allocated seat. The appellant court held that Senator Natasha was wrong on February 20, 2025, incident when the Senate President allocated a new seat to her and she refused to accept the order. The court, however, faulted the contempt charge against Senator Natasha and the 5 million naira fine imposed on her by Justice Binta Nyako. According to the Court of Appeal, 1849 on a Kogi senator was fatal. The court therefore set aside the contempt proceedings and the 5 million naira fine imposed on the Kogi senator. Away from that, the commander of the United States African Command, AFRICOM, General Dangvin Anderson, has reaffirmed the United States' commitment to supporting Nigerian-led solutions to the country's security challenges. He said these would be achieved through intelligence sharing and technical advisory support to enhance Nigeria's independent operational capabilities. This was contained in a statement by the Defense Headquarters through the Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba. According to Major General Uba, the AFRICOM commander interacted with senior Nigerian security officials, including the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Wahid Shaibu, and other senior officials. Elsewhere, The Operation Savannah Shield, deployed in Kwara State following last week's terrorist attack on warrior community in Kayama local government area, has swung into operation. Recall that President Bola Tinubu ordered the movement of 1 battalion of troops to the area in the wake of the attack in which more than 100 people were killed. The Defense Headquarters said that the operation, which will also take charge of the Niger State, would fish out the terrorists who killed people for justice to be served. A statement by Defense spokesman Major General Michael Onoja also itemized some of the success recorded by troops in other parts of the country. Let's move now to Africa, where Tanzania Foreign Minister Mahmoud Kombo has held talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. In the latest sign of strengthening relations between the two countries. During the meeting, Kombo delivered a letter from Tanzania President Samia Hassan to Russian President Vladimir Putin, underscoring Dar es Salaam's commitment to expanding bilateral cooperation. Speaking after the talks, Kombo thanked the Russian leadership for what he described as efforts to elevate relations between the two nations. He said the importance of strategic cooperation with Russia had been highlighted by President Hassan in recent address to diplomats and international organizations based in Tanzania. On the foreign scene, President Donald Trump has threatened to block the opening of a bridge connecting the U.S. and Canada until Washington is fully compensated for everything it has given its northern neighbor. Trump, on his official social media, said the Gordie Howe International Bridge connecting the Canadian province of Ontario to the U.S. state of Michigan would not open until Ottawa treats the United States with the fairness and respect that it deserves. According to the project website, the bridge is being funded by the Canadian government but will be publicly owned by both Canada and Michigan. Still on the foreign scene, a building collapse in the northern Lebanese city of Tripoli has reportedly killed 14 people after search and rescue operations ended following disaster a day earlier. Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said authorities had decided to take measures including evacuating 114 buildings at risk of collapse in the impoverished city, where residents have decried years of official neglect. Reports said the stricken building consisted of 2 blocks, each containing 6 apartments in the Bab el Tabana neighborhood, one of the poorest areas in the city, adding that 22 people were inside at the time of the collapse. This latest disaster allegedly came after another building collapsed in Tripoli late last month, killing 2 people. Still to come in the news. Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell expresses desire to manage Spanish giant Real Madrid. Searching for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. Let's go over to the concluding part of today's stories. On a business news, Nigeria's net foreign reserves have risen to $49 billion in a remarkable sustained recovery from about $3 billion recorded in May 2023. Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), Olayemi Cardoso said the nation's net foreign reserves hit $49 billion by February 5, 2026, as inflows from remittance, non-oil export, and other individuals and institution sources continued to provide strong buffer for the nation's currency stability. Cardoso made this known in Abuja at the second edition of the National Economic Council Conference. He described the steady improvement in forex reserves as a clear sign of improving confidence in the country's economy. In health, pharmacists have said that integrating pharmacies in routine immunization services could significantly reduce the burden of zero-dose children in the country, saying gaps in coverage continue to leave millions of children unprotected against preventable childhood killer diseases. They explained that community pharmacies are often the most accessible healthcare professionals, especially in hard-to-reach communities where primary health centers are overstretched or poorly utilized. According to them, involving pharmacies as a strategy partner would help close access gap and improve immunization coverage among children who have never received a single dose. Reports say the United Nations Children's Fund has said that Nigeria bears the highest global burden of unvaccinated children, with over 2 million children yet to receive a single dose of any routine vaccine. Still in health, the Nigerian Association of Dermatologists, NAAD, has launched a nationwide campaign to address growing public health concerns about skin bleaching in Nigeria. The campaign, themed Embrace Your Skin, was unveiled during a press conference held at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital Dermatological Clinic in Lagos. Speaking during the briefing, the NAD president, Professor Dasitima Atraide, warned that the medical risks associated with bleaching are severe and far outweigh any perceived benefit. Atraide explained that while lighter skin is often perceived as more desirable or socially advantageous, the practice has been linked to several infections, including skin cancers. We move now to sports, where Nigerian Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell has expressed hope to become the first African to manage Spanish giant Real Madrid. Chell, who started his coaching career with French amateur side Groupe Sportif Consulent in 2014, is currently regarded as one of the best homegrown coaches in Africa. The 48-year-old guided the Super Eagles to a respectable third-place finish at the 2025 African Cup of Nations. The former defender also led his native Mali to the quarter-finals of the AFCON 2023 tournament. Chell has reportedly been courted by a number of African countries. However, Chell said his ambition is to one day be in Real Madrid's dugout. Still in sports, Middlesbrough moved to the top of the Champions League for the first time since mid-October, as they delivered an excellent performance to beat 10-man Sheffield United. First-half goals from Tommy Conway and Riley McGreen made it 6 wins in a row, their best run since October 2023, as they opened up a 4-point gap over previous leaders Coventry City, taking full advantage of the Sky Blues' goalless draw from Oxford United. The result set things up for a meeting between the top two at the CBS Arena next Monday. On entertainment news, renowned Canadian highlife musician, guitarist, and composer Ebo Taylor, has reportedly died at age 90. Taylor's family confirmed his passing through a post shared on his official Instagram page without disclosing the cause of death. Taylor, widely regarded as a pioneer of modern Ghanaian music, died on Saturday, February 7, 2026, just a day after the launch of the Ebo Taylor Music Festival and a month after celebrating his 90th birthday. And that's all we have for you at this time. To ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 10. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.